We're good. Yeah.
All right, time is 10:33. We're kicking off the Transportation Subcommittee meeting. Here, coming to you live from 357 Van Ness. All right. Everybody's here. Was the meeting posted or was the agenda posted correctly, Mr. Leger?
Yes, it was.
And I would like to do one introduction.
Oh, we have some introductions.
Yeah, one introduction is Aaron Ruiz, who is a new Civic Spark Fellow and will be doing transportation. And so you're gonna see a lot more of him and we're excited to have him join us.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any public comments?
Apparently not.
All right, seeing none, consent calendar. Would anyone like to pull anything from the minutes or the transportation report? All right, can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So move, sir.
Pimentel second. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? All right, we are unanimous. We are unanimous. All right, weird. Look at that. We're right back on schedule. Ruthless. Ruthless. All right, IWG. Is Eric here?
Eric is not here, but I can do that. They met last week, had a presentation from a company called Cidian, which is a safety company for road projects. It's actually made available to all of the local jurisdictions within SCAG's region through an umbrella license that SCAG has. And it's a way to identify incidents along corridors or intersections. And actually has really cool built-in features that you can actually, they'll give you a list of countermeasures to help address the safety deficiencies. And also gives you kind of a return on investment over the lifespan of that project. So it's a really good way to try and reduce injuries and fatalities on the roadways, all free based on SCAG's license. And then cities can choose to throw in their own data on top of it for a separate license, but if you have more localized data.
So that I understand, is it capturing, how does it capture that
So
data?
there's statewide, I think they've changed names over the years, but Tim's database, there's another one that like CHP captures. So it pools a handful of data sources that record these incidents to begin with. And then plots them over, I think it goes back 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Is that primarily on arterials or what?
I don't know if it gets as local as like neighborhood streets, but arterials for sure. And then I think the collectors too.
And it would show you what, accidents or
Yeah,
does it capture speeding tickets? What is it?
If you have time to you log in and try and screen share. Not speeding tickets or any, like that kind of data, but if there was vehicular crashes, pedestrian, cyclist, it doesn't get fine tooth like bicycle, scooter, like micro mobility, but
Does it capture traffic volumes? Does it get the telemetry
No,
off
just
off automobiles to show you what your flow is?
it doesn't tell you the flow, but it just based on the traffic, the incident report, it
It
tells
only
you
captures
the
incidents.
incidents, yes.
So it doesn't have back end, like.
Not, at least not with,
35,000
not with
cars for
at least not with the license that SCAG has. You may be able to incorporate more local data if you have that kind of data itself.
Called what city, what?
It's Cidian, CITIAN.
Anything that will help me in my war against unneeded stop signs. I am committed to.
Anti-sign.
Oh, my God. Like somebody sponsored by Midas, Bill
Traffic
El
circle.
Segundo. They just we
Brand.
love stop signs.
Traffic circles, man, traffic circles.
Anything else from IWG? But that Cidian thing is intriguing.
And if you guys are
Cheryl will
interested,
never
we
come
can
back
have,
to it. Cheryl will never come back to another meeting here. She's like, God, he's gonna give me more
they
crap.
can ask them to come
Yeah.
present to you all if you'd like. I mean, they're happy to
Well, I'm thinking, well, yeah, it's.
This is
it's more
the,
than Google on our end. We were looking at, you see a number of these things, stuff like road quality, people who just capture camera footage from the front of your trash truck and tell you what the road quality is. And if you actually need to resurface or should resurface more often. So I'm intrigued by this.
So this is, Ann's kind of screen sharing what the system looks like.
Random.
It's actually a really interesting,
Look at a place with a lot of problems like Redondo.
Well.
So that,
Just a morass.
you see the car you see the car in the pool in Redondo?
I did not. Come on.
The fancy.
They responded, one place to shop.
And then.
Are you kidding me?
No, that was in North
A
Redondo.
lady backed up, I guess, elderly person, can't say it's a lady, and backed up and I guess lost control and went into her neighbor's backyard fence and into their pool.
By chance, was it a BMW?
It was Mercedes or BMW coupe.
No, I said, so BMW, so we had a BMW end up sprawled over a planter and the lady was like, there's something wrong with the brakes. And I was like, right. And then I looked and they had a recall. They called 280,000 of BMWs some month for a brake issue. So I'm intrigued to know. And the model is, I think, demographically suited for.
Seniors.
It looks like a Mercedes.
certain- That's a Mercedes? Oh, in that case, there goes my.
There goes her defense.
Yeah, there you
There
go.
goes
Trying to bail her out.
There goes her
Wow,
loss.
look at that. What are the yellow dots, Beth? So look at all these injuries. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Disastrous city.
Oh, and then as you zoom in, it gives you like a.
That gives you the-
Like a collision map.
Yeah.
Is
And
this
this is, we have free access to this through SCAG,
SCAG, yeah.
This is over what period of time that we're being received?
5 years?
Says most recent year data, 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, I don't know what Ann,
Probably.
what the query that Ann did, but I think they update it once a week or something like that. And you can go back several years at a minimum.
You do PCH.
But this is a really good tool to help build your applications for grant applications. It gives you the data that like state ATP grants.
Who has access to this system? Is it
Uh,
staff?
yeah, your staff is getting set up. I think your staff actually has been using this for a while.
And this is the base model right here? Because that's pretty specific.
Yeah, right. So you can get even more granular with the city specific data. I think my understanding was SCAG only had a certain set of data points that was common amongst all of its jurisdictions. But you have at least free access to this one right now. And if you have your own like local police reports or something like that, that might be on top of this, you can work with them to add that in.
That's an incredibly useful tool.
That is. bloody-
And it's super dynamic. I mean, you can just like all of those little charts, you can screen grab them and put them into your applications. I mean, it really should make the data collection part of ATP grants much more simple for you all.
Click on like a segment. And it'll zoom in even more.
Show 405 North at Artesia. We can send that to Jim.
And ranks it among all of the other segments of the county.
You able to show them the countermeasures? You remember how to get to
Right
that?
here.
What are counter?
Like the fixes that you can
Yeah.
implement. And it pulls them from like best practice, nationwide best practices, nationwide costs to implement them. So it gives you kind of a rough estimate of what you might need to ask for in a grant application, so.
So will someone like Caltrans look at this and say, hey, there's a stretch in between Hermosa Redondo and Manhattan Beach where we've had a slew of accidents with several fatalities over the last 3 years. What can we do to fix?
Potentially, yeah.
Will they do that on their own?
That was my.
That's the separate question. But yeah, one would think that this would be a good good source for them to pull specific information about that.
Because there's nothing akin to, you know, when there's an airline crash, you get the NTSB that comes out, looks at it, and tries to figure out. There's nothing akin to that. So when there's an accident on PCH and it's a dangerous stretch, it's that no one comes out and says, hey, why don't we do this?
So about a year ago, I met with our public works staff about our TJ intersections. We were concerned about all the accidents on TJ and Ridge and other intersections. And they printed out a map, I imagine it was from this app, that showed you not just the accident, but how was the accident caused? So was
Right.
it a left turn from this, you know, from this spot to that, was a red light run? And so you could try to deduce the solution from the data, so.
Wow, it even has a costing in there.
Yeah, so whatever intersection or segment Ann is looking at, those are the recommended solutions. The benefit, the cost, somewhere in there, they even calculate, I guess, like lost economic output based on incidents and factor that into the calculation. So it's a really thorough tool for, I think, for cities to use as you make investment decisions. And if any of those, for whatever instance, are not really a good fit for that location, you can uncheck them and then it removes it from all the calculation. Well, all of your staff have access to this now. You can have them reach out to me or Ann if they weren't at IWG, but we sent out a blast to everybody. So hopefully they're getting all set up with this.
And if you want them to come here. they can.
Yeah, and if you're interested, I'm
No, I mean,
I'd
I'll
be
just,
happy to.
I'm happy if staff knows they have access to it, but it's what a useful tool.
Yeah.
Anything else from IWG?
No, I don't think we started talking about the Measure R&M stuff, which I'll add at the end under the announcements or 3 months looking ahead, but.
All right, transit operators, present on this. Is Dana on?
Dana is not here. That one, we actually had good attendance at the last meeting. It was really just a quick overview, touch base on what's been going on. Good. And were there any major discussion topics at transit operators that I'm forgetting? I don't think so, no.
Is that, can we direct or actually maybe I guess it's probably city councils are the right people to ask about ridership and things like that and the different ones.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, got it. And
But wait a minute. But if we wanted the transit work group to provide that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, the transportation committee had asked Torrance to kind of give an overview of their service in the South Bay. They've got a lot of Measure R transit funded projects that are rolling out. So if you want to, we can always make the request if you'd like them to come and present on something.
I think the real utility of that is probably to the individual cities, because otherwise it's incumbent on us to regurgitate it back to
Yes.
other newly elected officials.
Yes.
Which will, yeah, let's put through my completely objective prism. Metro Service Council, Don.
I'm here. We met last Friday, got extensive reports on the Life and the Go Pass programs. Life is for lower income folks, gives them 90-day, you join and you're a member for life. You get 90 days free and then 20 rides per month on your tap card. The Go Pass program is for schools all the way up into colleges, where the school participates in some partial funding to Metro, and every student gets a pass for reduced or no charge rides on the system. We also got a report on the changeover of Division 18 into an entire electric bus charging infrastructure. It's being discussed at this point with a plan that hopefully it'll be implemented by the 2028. will have no effect on the buses that are gonna be used for the Olympics. Apparently, they're going to have separate yards where they're gonna be storing those buses. We have a number of discussions that continue to ongo. We've been asked about supporting and changing over the Vermont Athens Station parking lot to paid parking. Even though this is an equity-based community, but we're still waiting to hear from the supervisor to get a report as to what their interest is in that and whether this should go forward or not. We've been discussing changing the date and time based on a request from the steering committee of our meetings, and that's running into lots of problems as we talk about it. And because of that, we didn't even make a decision as to whether we're going dark in December. Other than that, we got our regular monthly reports. So, any questions? I'm happy to answer.
All right, seeing none. Sergio, our favorite part, Caltrans District 7.
I'm glad it's somebody's favorite part.
You didn't wear your helmet.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the time. Some recent updates here at the district. We submitted our 2026 shop nominated projects to headquarters a few weeks ago. We're working with headquarters to address comments on the projects we've nominated here for the district. Some of the projects that we've put forward include the mobility hub projects for the Olympics, and I think as well as for the game route network. That kind of affected the number of projects we're able to produce in the 2026 shop on account that those funds needed to be drawn out of our current 2026 shop portfolio. So we're working with headquarters to address some items. Once these projects have been vetted by them, we will share with our regional partners our nominated projects that will be adopted by the CTC at the March 2026 commission meeting. Other than that, I think I've provided Ann and team with the latest updates on the projects here at the COG. But that's all I have to report for this month.
Caltrans questions.
Are there,
Nice ones first, mean ones second.
I guess, Anne, was there anything that you saw in the highlighted in what he,
We gave it out last month.
Yeah, the,
oh,
we're doing quarterly, the last report was in September, the next one will be.
Can I ask a structural Olympics question as you plan out the routes?
I will do my best to answer it.
All right,
Yes.
well, a lot of us go to myriad different Olympic themed meetings. For you, who designates those routes? Who's the central coordinating authority? Because
That I would
that is
have
the big
to,
open question.
yeah, I would have to one defer that to Tasha Higgins, who I believe has been leading this effort here at the district to kind of nominate projects, secure funding. And I have to imagine that there's been kind of a variety of meetings that she's had with different stakeholders. But I can't speak to an in-depth point of view, but I could pass along David her point of contact if you guys would like to set up a meeting or ask her more questions in regards to that.
It's just a general background question. I
Sure.
think a lot of elected officials, we go to meetings with the county about the Olympics. We go to meetings with the city of LA and other mayors about the Olympics. Then we go meet with LA 28, the private entity that's putting on the individual events. And
Mhm.
each one of them has a different part of the elephant they describe to us. And I think a
Yes.
lot of us are like, well, who is Caesar in
Yeah.
great imperial Rome when it comes to the Olympics?
Believe me, I think on our end, at least from our department here, we've had the same question because there seems like there's a lot of external conversations, but there hasn't been a big charrette, at least from my point of view, not Caltrans, to kind of have everybody in the same room talking about these items and securing funding. But
This
I
might be
think,
like anticipatory route planning, like we think these are the roads we want you to use.
correct. I have to imagine that those conversations have taken place, but I don't know the in-depth details of that. But yes, I do agree that there's several conversations and everybody's kind of, like you said, getting a piece of an elephant, and we're just working in silos right now. So it has been a challenge, especially the funding portion. I think here at Caltrans, we did not expect the money to be coming out of our shop portfolio because, as we know, the shop is to fix it first. And while we want to contribute to this to the success of the Olympics, it does have an impact on the projects we'll be able to deliver in 2026. Other than that, yeah, it is rather complicated. We've been hoping for federal help and participation, and maybe someone can sweet talk the administration to lend a couple $1 billion.
I'm totally perplexed by how this giant event is coming off. Because
I think a
You're
lot
not
of
alone.
people are, yeah. But again, that's not Caltrans' view. I think that's just more of my personal, as a
No,
taxpayer.
I'm just saying, like, when I hear these things,
Yeah.
like, obviously, you've got an astronomical amount of money lined
Yeah.
up for an event that I do not have a great deal of confidence is being coordinated across parties unless there's a secret headquarters that Peter Uberoth sits in and is with a brain in a jar running this thing. You like that callback? That was just for you. You're the only one old enough to remember.
The old offense too.
No idea what you're talking about. I wasn't even born yet. Okay, well, we won't hold you responsible for the Olympics, Sergio. You're getting off easy this time.
Very well.
Anything further for Caltrans? All right.
All right, very well. By the way, I think that was a really interesting presentation on the Crash app that David provided. I will use my voice to mention it to the safety team here if that's something that they're utilizing. But I do know that they have a methodology in determining how we incorporate safety components to segments of the highway. But this is a good thing to augment their analysis. But thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Okay, before we go to the C line extension item, we have a late breaking public comment. I would just say, remember, this is a receive and file piece only. We're not taking any action on the C line extension update. But with that, Ray, would you like to, Ray? Oh, there you go, Ray. Over to you.
Yeah, is there not a presentation today? No one's presenting the charts?
No, we're gonna present it, but we're not taking any action. It's just an update.
Metro's not presenting. We just included we had the presentation last month. And then we included the slides that were part of the EIR portal for information.
I'm ready to go, whatever
Yeah.
you want. Okay, so I brought, well, I mean, the charts were in there and the charts, the cost summary charts were not presented last, as far as I know. They were
3
in the
minutes?
package, so.
Yeah, they were in there.
So I have, is our clock going on at some point? I
I've
have
got one
a
here.
bunch of handouts for y'all, and so, but while I'm handing out, let me know when the clock starts. And because I'll start, talking of something internet. I was just handing out the chart. There's nice pretty color charts here, how it goes. And I think I have enough for everybody.
There you go. Quick start as soon as you hand the last one out.
Okay. And the last one, okay, correct? Okay, well, I'm sorry, I haven't been this, the nice facility. Where do I stand to?
If you want to stand at the podium over there.
Logical place to stand? So I bring, I just doesn't, is this?
If you click there's a little button on the top of it.
Here's someone. Test, I'm okay.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
is there, and there's the clock,
I've got one started right here.
Okay, not displayed?
No, but you'll be able to hear it.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 minutes. I'm gonna start.
All right, so I'm Ray Aller, Lawndale homeowner, and so I've got this handout here, and the handout is entitled, "Should the Hawthorne Boulevard option cost less than the hybrid row option?" Which is the current LPA. And in the next chart, I show the project schedules that were attached to the FEIR. And what I'd like to draw your attention to is the construction times for the different options, particularly the lower two. So there's Hawthorne option is second to last, and LPA hybrid rows is the last one. And you notice straight away, this construction period for a Hawthorne Boulevard option is about 6 years if you include the BNSF and utility. For a hybrid row, it's not I'm sorry, it's just 7 years. Hybrid row, it's 8.25 years. Now, straight away, it seems counterintuitive that a construction schedule, which is where most of the money is spent for a project, how is it that a schedule that takes an extra 1.25 years costs less, costs 27% less? It's 18% longer schedule, but somehow it costs 27% less. So if you add those up, you get about a 45% sum. And that would mean that the burn rate, the amount of time, money you're spending during time for Hawthorne Boulevard would have to be about 45% higher than the hybrid row. And to me, that seems ridiculous. I don't know why. There's no explanation whatsoever for that. That seems counterintuitive. And so that just doesn't seem right at all to me. And no one's ever asked that as far as I know, except me, and I never get an answer. So that's the first chart. And I hope that you'll have, you got handouts, you can read all the details later. Now, in the next page, construction cost estimate here, I'd like to point out that there's a lot of uncertainty about all this right now. The design maturity is 15%. That means they've got 85% to go on the design. And so to try to, I mean, I know they're do the best they can for their cost estimates, but let's just bear in mind there's a lot of uncertainty. Secondly, they've got contingency of 40%, 40% contingency. So that's another big uncertainty here. So I bring these up because I think you need to bear all this in mind, because there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding all of these numbers, and so we shouldn't get hung up on, particularly on smaller numbers, and so on. So I'll show with one chart, the schedules chart challenge whether Hawthorne Boulevard should cost any more than hybrid row. Maybe it ought to be cheaper. And now in the second section here, where I've got the text, it relates to construction data from the DEIR, because the Green Line staff was not forthcoming on their details. I'm sorry, go back to the other chart. I mean, I really should, if I get 10 seconds left, is that all look at? Oh, all right. So there's another reason here, and these secondary charts to explain why the cost difference between hybrid row and the Hawthorne Boulevard should be much smaller, if there's any at all. Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
I was gonna call a question, clarifying.
Go right ahead. Clarifying question, please, no back and forth.
Yes,
Clarifying question is okay.
So I'm looking at the schedule here, page 17, what they provided, and it shows the LPA as completing in March 2016, and the Hawthorne option completing as December 2036, and the Hawthorne option completing December 2036. So how are you discerning that for the Hawthorne Boulevard option, construction duration is 18% less?
It's the BNSS plus utility relocation duration, plus the yellow construction section. And if you compare those two for the two, you can see right away that it's 1.25 years longer for the hybrid row LPA.
Where did you get the BNSF relocation? Oh, okay, I see that there.
It's like orange.
All right, thank you.
All right,
big money.
Mr. Holler.
Okay. I'm available after the meeting or whatever. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, Mr. Legere, who will present this item?
I can go over it. I don't think there's really much to present. We just wanted to because it wasn't included in the presentation last month, we wanted to just make sure it went out to the committee as an FYI. Metro somewhat touched on the dollar amounts during their verbal presentation. But the numbers that we wanted to kind of draw everybody's attention to on page 19 of the packet, the second to last slide in the slide section. So the draft, the final EIR estimates for the locally preferred alternative is 2.7 billion. The Hawthorne option is 3.4 billion. The trench is 3.3, and the elevated at grade right away is 2.4. I think the important part is kind of the difference section right below that from the draft EIR. So everything is just under-ish, $1 billion more than it was a few years ago. With not even any additional funding since it was presented a few years ago. So
We have the additional
Um,
funding.
let me.
I wanted them to, I mean, this isn't unfunded in any of the,
Yeah,
alternatives.
let me pull up the numbers. Okay, so there is, in 2000, in Measure R, 272 million. Measure M, 619 million. And then, a state grant of 231 million. So we're at about, just over $1 billion of the $2+ billion that we would need for the project.
Which local jurisdictions have to kick in for the 3% match? Is that everybody serviced by Metro or just?
So it would be Torrance and
Which is
Redondo, and it's determined at the 30% design, whatever the cost estimate of the project is at that point. And then you would go through a negotiation with Metro to determine if any of your prior investments can be counted as an in-kind match. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a cash contribution. I would think the cities would try and get the transit centers that they invested tens of millions of dollars in to count towards that local match at the end of the day.
And the new 9-story apartment building they get with it for their station. Sure, he'll be signing right up. For the people watching at home, can we maybe run through what the local alternative is? People who don't do this every weeks.
Yes, so let me just pull up this slides real quick. Okay, so last month Metro presented, these were Metro slides from last month. So the LPA is this one, which is essentially a hybrid right of way where if I can zoom in a little bit more for you. So where it leaves the Redondo Beach Marine Station, you have sections of at grade and below segments. As opposed to all elevated or all trenched or all at grade. So this is where the current, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but that's where the green line currently, sorry, C line current, no, K line. Currently ends, sorry, K line currently ends here. What they're calling the C line extension, which if it's built will become the K line. Goes through the Metro owned right of way. Down this way, we'll hit the Redondo Beach Transit Center and then continue on to Torrance south of that. This
On the right of way.
on the right of way, right? Where it, I don't know, in this map. Yeah, so where it crosses, we're beyond like this area of 190th, the segment is the same for all options. It's this middle section here that changes depending on the all of the different variations. The Hawthorne one would obviously go down Hawthorne Boulevard, which would then open up the NEPA requirements and encroachment permits from Caltrans and just other process that Metro has not currently gone through.
For clarification,
Right?
this was coming back to the Metro Board when?
They're agended yet.
At the CEO's discretion and the board chair's discretion, it could be as early as October, but they have a December 4th, I think it's December 4th meeting. And then could be next year as well.
Okay, because I know they brought it up when they presented it last month and it was
Yeah.
they didn't have a date. And I
It
just
had
kind
just been released, or is about to be released when we had our meeting last month. And so we wanted to make sure that they presented, just in case it went to the Metro board before this committee met again And so there's not really any new information from last month. This information, it's not new, it's just, it was in their project portal online with all of the attachments.
Has to go to a committee before it goes to the board. The committee meets a week or so before board meeting, and it's not on that agenda for this month.
Okay, so it's out there a ways.
It would probably be December at the earliest, it seems like at this point.
David, what's the distance between Marine and the Transit Center in Redondo Beach? You know, offhand?
Don't.
Avenue in the transit center?
Yeah, what's the distance travel?
The whole extension's 5.1 miles or something.
Yeah, so maybe a couple miles.
Probably 2 miles.
Yeah.
No
2
stops.
miles.
Yeah, no stops, right?
Super useful.
Longdale took out there.
Does Lawndale have a local match even though it doesn't have a stop?
No.
That's
They
why
took-
they
That's
didn't
one
want
reason they
stop.
took it out. I just have to make an editorial note. I find it interesting that Metro would put all this together and not mention that it is completely unfunded. I mean, I think if you're going to discuss it, you have to understand that there's no money to build this.
I already set an Outlook reminder for April of 2036, so I'll be able to get right on this train. Definitely leaving the station.
Zane's kids will be, ribbon.
They'll be voting on it.
Super excited.
Zane has his hand up.
Oh, Zane, go ahead.
So also to add on Jackie's note, if you, David, could go to the project has secured funding from that slide.
The one I
Page
took that up.
20 of 22.
Oh.
It has measure R. Anyway, they say that they've secured funding from 3% match contributions from local jurisdictions. Okay, in the case of Redondo Beach, the project runs about 35.5% of the center line of the project is in Redondo Beach. So that comes out to about $958 million that our local match would be charged against that 3%. So $29 to $30 million would be the cost of Redondo Beach of this project. Our transit center, we could get a credit for $19.7 million. That means that we have over $10 million that we've got to come up with to help fund this, that we've essentially had no say in whatsoever to, you know, put it in the right location that we believe in. And it frankly just doesn't make sense for us. Why would we give up funding for more bike lanes and our local, you know, measure local return funding for this project that we've already seen is gonna have lower ridership than the alternative better project.
It's
You
not gonna
you would
be
also
that
probably
cost.
want to include the bike lanes that you've already, the first last mile improvements that might benefit the transit,
Hey,
wherever the station is.
But you
Those are the other kinds of things you would want to try and claim to offset whatever the cash they would ask for.
offset it with more, but it's also gonna cost more than what you're seeing
I
here.
mean, and Andy, it speaks to the fact that Metro's kind of kept us so outside this process. The financials come to us after Metro has come here and the project managers come and presented on the project. We only get the financials after they've, you know, taken off and are no longer here to answer questions. So any event, that's my agree.
The city's like, we refuse.
They'll take it from your future
Yeah,
measure, local return funding.
Yeah,
They just put a
there's-
lien on your future returns.
Yep.
Yeah, your future measure M local return would be withheld until you've met your local match.
Man, oh man,
So between
never build
this
a
and
train again.
SB 79, you're not gonna see another train again.
Well, I wasn't gonna go there, Jackie, but that was an observation I was gonna make is relative to SB 79. You know, what does this do to potential 9-story things, right? Because, okay, you have something, didn't have something, now you have something, and now I got a 9-story building adjacent to it, right? So
We've already ordered the cement mixers to hit our turnstiles. Like, there's
I mean, it's just.
I mean, had we known in advance, there would be no stops in El Segundo, I assure you. Any other questions on please, Hermosa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know this is for informational purposes only today. Is this something that we would want to recommend for a discussion and possible vote in supporting or opposing?
Because classically, it has been significantly contentious between two major entities. We have taken no position on it. We've allowed those entities to go directly to the board with their concerns and not taken a position at this level.
And I,
To be candid, it's three entities versus one. Hawthorne, Lawndale, Redondo saying Hawthorne Boulevard or no bill. and one
Irrespective
towards-
of,
I know,
and we
okay.
could do it between entities and populations
Right,
and
I get
whichever. We did not think it productive to have something that would be so narrowly split on at this body that it would be. Because if we made a recommendation at this body, it would be the idea that like, oh, well, this body truly believes this, and it's so narrowly divided. They were like, it makes more sense to have those people lobby individually to Metro and not us do it as a representative body, because we probably wouldn't be that. It's Michael, over to you. Michael on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to maybe provide a little clarification on a couple items here. On the 3% contribution, it would be based on, as was stated, the 30% cost of the project. Right now, if the project's coming in at around 2.7, that would come out to around 47 million. And a policy that Mayor Butts brought in, oh no, 7 or 8 years ago on the 3% is that the cities can use 100% of first and last mile project money to offset that 3%. And then in terms of what's going to happen, I was hoping that it would come in November, December. It would make sense, but it would have made sense to come in October as well. But staff will be asking for the approval of the FEIR, which I think is something that will, in a sense, be relatively perfunctory. You're not going to sit there and abandon the FEIR at this point. But they will be coming back a few months later and asking for additional funding to proceed to the already approved 30% level of design and preliminary engineering. So there's going to have to be questions about how much it's going to cost just to get to 30%. And then there'll be some, I think, a lot of scrutiny on what it would cost to do eventually construction preparation. So you have a number of factors in there that the board's going to give intense scrutiny in terms of how much money it wants to further expend in terms of getting to a point of whether you move forward or you don't move forward. But I don't think that's going to be necessarily a decision they'll make immediately on the approval of the FEIR. So I'm hopeful that that's a little bit of information that will be helpful to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Done.
Could I ask a question, Michael? If the FEIR is approved as is, does that mean that the locally preferred alternative, as described, the alternate, is also approved?
That's what the FEIR is all about, the FEIR is focused on the approval of the LPA. Now, a board member could come in and make a motion to select another alternative, but I think it's highly unlikely. Given the fact, as Jackie has pointed out, the immense gap between the 1.4 billion that they say they have in hand based on what David was talking about. I think there's a little more beyond, but it's about 1.4 billion. So you do have a gap of another 1.3 billion to get there. And the fact that the Hawthorne costs more. The LPA is, I would say, the most likely to, be approved. And so they would only focus now on approving the LPA, certifying the FEIR, and approving the notice of determination. And then they would come back to the board, as I stated earlier, that they're going to need further funding to get to a 30% level that the board had previously approved. But like I said, that will have intense scrutiny on how much that should cost and whether it's viable.
Thank you, Michael. What's $1.3 billion gap between friends?
So, Mr. Chair.
Does
if
it
I
come with an
might-
F-35? Bill, please, we're 25 minutes behind, so go quick.
Yeah, so no, I appreciate the organization not taking a position on this, given the contentious nature of it in general. But I would offer up, I do think there's an opportunity to express our concerns. As Michael noted, this is going to come back to the board relative to a financing discussion at some point in the future. So it may behoove us to at least express this opinion relative to those financing implications, ramifications and whatnot later next year when we get to that point,
More
Mr. Chair.
first principles, go, no go versus.
Well, yeah,
vanilla
not so
chocolate.
much just on we all have concern about unfunded somethings, right? Or what the potential cost implications, Zane mentioned, Redondo Beach specific and whatnot. But again, I would offer up, I think there's an opportunity for the organization to take an opinion or at least express some concerns relative to financing when it gets to that point.
I think that's probably appropriate. One last save round.
Yeah, thank you. And I beat the dead horse intentionally. There's no funding for this. We know there's been no coordination with the city that will deal with the impacts of this proposed project. I don't understand, particularly since we all talk about strength in numbers and local control, why we wouldn't flesh out and take an opinion one way or another, as we've done on other projects that have been contentious. I mean, I think this is one of those where it matters collectively where we are versus more where we are independently as cities, and I would support an action item for a discussion and a potential vote.
Is it for a go, no go, or a vanilla chocolate or strawberry on the options?
So our board did previously support the project,
No.
but stay alignment.
Right.
You got
That was pre-EIR, right?
it was the draft, during the draft.
Right.
That was also $2 billion.
Right,
Right.
right. But since we know there's no money involved with this, we know we talk about local control and we know that the people of Redondo Beach who are gonna bear the brunt of this, have been left out of the process. So as a local guy, I'd be pretty ticked off, and I think collectively as a COG, we should hear from those folks. And
Robert's Rules of Order's question. Can any board member here put something on the agenda for the next meeting?
But
Quick Robert's Rules of Order question? So-
yes, sure.
Okay, do you want it on for the next agenda?
I'm seeking support to have that placed on the next agenda.
Can I
That's
just-
the motion, I'll second it.
Can I add, okay, then I want to
Okay, go
discuss the
ahead.
motion.
Can I make one more comment?
You may
just
not, one second, you've not been recognized yet, please. We're gonna be here all day. We've got 30 minutes to get through 2 more presentations. So one
Just-
second, please, Michael. 1 second, please. Jackie, go ahead.
Okay, David and I have a meeting in the next couple of weeks to discuss strategy and where we should really be, how we should address this. There are other issues here besides this line. This line will connect to other lines. What do we do? So I would just like you to, we hear what you're saying. We hear that you would like to, and I agree with you actually, that when an unfunded line is going on and Metro keeps spending billions of dollars or millions of dollars to figure it out, maybe we should say, wait a minute, what are you doing? And so I agree with what you're saying, but if you could give us a couple of weeks, we really want to come back with some ideas.
Can I suggest this, Tasker? If you want a couple of weeks to do that, but before this agenda comes out, can you give us that update so we know whether we want to agendize it or not?
No,
So before the agenda for the next meeting,
The
can you let us
meeting that
know?
we're having is on this,
it's
the
down
Friday of the same week as transfer. So we would do it in December.
We'd have
the
to come back
December
in
meeting.
December. We could come back in December.
And this is likely not to be heard by the Metro Board until when? January?
Those.
We have no idea.
Schedule.
4th or January.
It's on the board for January?
No.
December or December or in January.
I thought you said.
Well, we would want
You
to.
said December or in January.
All right, well, with that, I think then we don't have time to wait till December if it could be on their December docket.
Well, okay, if we can monitor that and find out if it's on December, we'll bring it back in November if we have to, but if we can't, we'll bring it back in December.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Michael, go quickly, please.
Michael, could you
Just
have how much money?
real
that
quick,
Let's have.
real quick. In your discussions, you're also going to want to take into account, there's that 230 million in TIRCP. And what happens to that if this project ends up being shelved? And that needs to be discussed in your further discussions.
What is the TRICP?
Transit.
Intercity.
State funds. The state.
It's a rail program.
Greenhouse gas fund. State.
And sorry, Mike,
Bust.
sorry,
Super fast, please. We're way
Could you
behind.
just clarify exactly how much money does Metro have at this time for the Sea Line extension to Torrance?
Metro, do you have that there? Well, we got Metro in the room. What do you got?
Say that, the 2024 draft EIR has discussion on that, and that information will be updated when the board report comes out for the board meeting. So if it goes to the December 4th meeting, it would go to committee a week before Thanksgiving. So
So we don't know ballpark figure how much money Metro.
But in Measure R, there's 272 million for the Green Line project. In Measure M, 619 million, and then the grant that Mike just referenced, the TIRCP, is 231 million.
Thank you.
That sounds like totals up to about 1.4.
1 million.
1.1.
Okay. I'll now make my cheeky comment about just how packed that train is between Nash and Redondo Beach. Boy, we just really got to extend it. All those people to the park and ride. Speaking of a terrorist attack there, not hurt anybody. All right. Moving on to our 10:55 presentations. The update on SCAG's Regional Mobility Hub. Who will present on this matter?
We've got Surinya.
Yeah, she's still with us. Flee on foot, have lunch. Serena, the floor is yours.
Sir.
Hi, right.
There she be.
Yeah, oh, all right. Can you hear me? Does this work?
There should be a little button on the side. If you click it, it'll turn green.
Okay, good, perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Serenia Matuti. I'm a senior regional planner at SCAG, formerly used to work in the city manager's office in Hermosa Beach.
Come back.
All right, next slide, please. So I promise not to take too long because I know I'm going to be followed by a presentation from Jay talking about the mobility hub study that is taking place in this area. But just to provide an overview, we'll brief you on SCAG's agency-wide mobility hub strategy. Oops, what's going on there?
Sorry, I'm focusing the camera on you. You can
No
continue.
problem. I'm going to introduce our mobility hub design and implementation guide. I don't know if people got copies of the fact sheet, but if not, maybe Jake can run around and make sure the copy goes out. I'm going to provide a brief update on what we're calling the Regional Pilots Initiative. It's a newer program inside SCAG. And then I'll go over next steps. Next slide. All right, so SCAG has been thinking deeply about mobility hubs since 2022 when we released what was called a Mobility as a Service paper. And then in preparation for our big RTP Regional Transportation Plan for 2024, we established a baseline network of around 300 sites across the 6 counties in our region. There are sites included here in the South Bay. And then as part of our work, we also established mobility of typologies. There'll be another slide about that. We developed a design guide to which you're receiving a handout on. It's available online. And then continue to work with stakeholders to identify and evaluate potential opportunities and funding to pursue the construction or I will call it the upgrading of mobility hub sites. Okay, next slide. All right, just to level set, how does SCAG define a mobility hub? We're defining it as a physical place where you can places of connectivity where you can seamlessly connect with multiple modes of transportation. Really strong integration with fixed route transit, buses and rail, but also integration. What really makes a mobility hub in SCAG's view is when there's integration with multiple modes of transportation. So down here, for example, in the South Bay, I know there's a strong culture already of using micromobility in the form of the electric vehicle. I don't know if I should call it golf carts. Anyway, other things to know, they're not usually, sometimes they are considered independent of land use. And what I can share is that there are so many different kinds of categories and types and names for mobility hubs. I feel like I'm about to sink. Jake, for example, when he'll be coming back up, he'll talk about the two typologies that are based here in the South Bay that revolve around strengthening connections to transit, but also again, also with the local travel network. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. This one just goes over why mobility hubs. I think a lot of us are in this room because we see the importance of transportation, creating access to different modes of transportation in order to support livability, helping people get around, get to jobs, get to shopping, get to housing, etc. We also, not everyone can drive in the South. Either you're too young or you might have some reasons why you're not driving. And so, you know, we're down here trying to create and coordinate a system that works for everybody. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. This slide just provides an overview of the typologies that SCAG developed when we created our mobility hub strategy. Again, emphasizing that there are two specific down here that Jake will be going over. So yes, we have come up with these categories: downtown hubs, urban hubs, emerging urban hubs. Go back quickly. Thank you. And in our baseline network, we have categorized each of the mobility hubs with these typologies, looking a lot at again, land use characteristics, and the idea that, you know, it's kind of like how when you go to on the highway and you get off at a rest area, you kind of know what to expect, right? There's usually a restroom. If you're lucky, there's a vending machine. There's usually a place where you can walk your dog. And I think in this world, right, we're trying to give consistency and helping people know what to expect at a different mobility hub based on what the landscape looks like. Okay, now we can move on to the next slide. So my big thing here, I've been calling it my book tour, talking about this mobility hub design and implementation guide. We created this strategy and realized, well, one of the next steps is to provide guidance to help our cities and public agencies figure out how to build and construct networks of mobility hubs. So the QR code is up there. You can also visit our website, scag.ca.gov/mobility-hubs. All right, next slide. And I'm going to go through the rest of this quickly because I know you have a lot to go on. The guide itself is divided into 3 sections, and the first one is about how to plan your mobility hub. You can see the process there, which includes making sure that mobility hubs are context specific and they work for your community. Done research and talked to your residents and who's coming into your community to figure out what their needs are. We've also, a lot of the baseline include developing conceptual designs and then developing a strategy. Next slide. The next section of the hub talks about how to design your mobility hub. And so there's a lot of different things here. It's probably a lot to look at, but just considerations for the kind of elements you want in your mobility hub. Considerations, preparing a kit of part. Again, our guide also includes a number of conceptual designs for sites across the SCAG region. I like them because as someone who was pretty much new to mobility hubs when I first got to the agency, it really helped me understand the process for preparing a network of hubs. And hopefully, I know you guys are elected officials, but you have regular conversations with your city managers and your staff and giving them access to these tools. Especially if I was a management analyst, generalist. And so, again, these tools were developed with those kind of professionals in mind. Okay, next slide. This slide just goes over the ideas we had for how to implement the hub. And I think the most important one that at least I was proud of our work in doing was coming up with funding resources. Sitting here, being part of your conversation, or realizing that money doesn't grow on trees. We do list a comprehensive listing of different funding opportunities that your cities could pursue in order to build a mobility hub. All right, can we go to the next slide? All right, we can start racing. So one of the things inside the guide talks about acute parts. And so what we did, and it's informed in how we developed our conceptual designs and how we're doing our own work on mobility hubs inside the agency, was figuring if you're a downtown hub, if you're a rural hub, again, what to expect. And we did go through the process of identifying if something was highly recommended, or not applicable. So again, it's just a tool to help your cities figure out a route to, or a roadmap to building your own mobility hubs. Next slide. And then just some sample conceptual designs, again, tool for your staff to help them deliver mobility hubs. And then let's go on to the next slide. All right, another thing that we're working on inside the agency is called our regional pilot initiative. So this was something that SCAG initiated a couple years ago, to develop pilot projects of regional significance in 4 different program areas. One of them is mobility hubs. The program is being funded a little bit through the carbon reduction program, and I can share that we're in the initiation phase. Literally was sitting here preparing my slides to present to our leadership team on Wednesday. We are not doing a conventional call for projects. Instead, we've been looking for project partners. As part of the design guide, we did work with a handful of cities to develop conceptual designs for them, and the way they were chosen was they had sites that were already in our baseline network, and when we did a weighted model essentially to figure out, well, if we invest in this location, does it have the most potential for increasing ridership and patronage of alternate forms of transportation? So yeah, this little circle graphic just talks about the considerations for this. I anticipate that there'll be more information to share in the coming months, but I don't have anything quite official yet. All right, I think I'm almost done. So yes, thanks guys. Been here to talk about the guide. I've talked a little bit about RPI. Again, that one is 4 program areas. The other program areas include contactless, open loop, e-bikes, and like, oh my gosh, brain, I can't remember the 4th one. And then the other thing is, I know I mentioned a little bit about, heard a little chatter here about LA 28. So SCAG is doing a lot of work in support of LA 28. One of the committees that our agency is involved in, there is a subcommittee that is looking at mobility hubs for LA 28, temporary mobility hubs in support of, because we're supposed to have a transit first games. And then we're going to continue refining the baseline network as part of the next big plan, Connect SoCal 2028. There are some sites in the network that no longer exist because they were really busy bus stops, and then a mobility hub was opened around the corner. And so we just need to update the network to make sure that it reflects what's out there on the ground. All right, I am finished. Are there any questions?
Hermosa Beach.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr.
Ray.
Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Real quick, I
Yes.
think we all love the idea of these mobility hubs.
But
In light of recent events, does a mobility hub become a euphemism for transportation center and therefore trigger SB 79?
I don't know how to respond to that question. I'm going to put a pin on that. Are there any other? Wait, do you want to?
It sounds like a transfer center, right?
It's a very important question because they'll never get built otherwise.
Yeah,
You got a
exactly.
comment?
Is there a strong overlap between your map of these
Not a chance.
states, map of major transit stops?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you.
This is a whole new thing now that SCAG's gonna have to look into and get back to everybody. Because,
Thank you very much, Jack.
because it's, cities are gonna be discouraged from doing this if it's a
Yes.
transit center.
Yeah, I mean,
It's-
Mr. Chair, Ray, I
We've
think.
seen the last stop of any sort being built in 8 counties in California.
Yeah, 'cause I
Bill.
think going back to slide 12, where it showed the dynamics of a mobility hub, I think that's kind of where we have to ask ourselves, and I know SCAG's gonna have the responsibility to identify those locations that are applicable to Prop 79. So I think part of this just goes back to I may have an entity or place today that has a proper SB 79 implication. I would offer up, I'm not likely to go build anything new that's gonna have a new, SB 79 implication to it, right? So I think that's just part of the discussion at the SCAG and whatnot. While this may have been a great idea or something before, maybe now from a city specific, it may not be.
Well, I want to, before I hand over the mic to Jake, again, emphasizing that this organization, so SCAG is funded through our Regional Early Action Program. We have awarded about $400-something thousand to this organization to do work on mobility hubs. Again, context specific. You guys will talk about how you are trying to support usage of the local travel network. I will and your concerns about making future investments in mobility hubs. I will take that back to our team. Okay, is there anything else?
Before we go to Jake, go ahead.
On a similar note, though, if you have an area that's already zoned for SB 79 improvement where you're gonna, because you have a transit center or a center line of a big project, then maybe that's where you should have these mobility hubs also, because it's not gonna add any additional density or zoning.
You augment what you have, right?
Right, yeah.
And I will simply say one last thing. I apologize for not having a slide up that shows a screenshot of where SCAG has modeled these mobility hubs in your region. A fair number of them are, again, existing rails. It's all existing rails. It's a mix of existing rail stations, but also some bus stops that already do have frequent service.
A mix of existing and soon to be demolished.
Yeah, I think as Jake, are you gonna go up there? As Jake goes up, I just want to say that Jake, go. As
Jake.
As our mobility hub, what we're doing is obviously a little downscaled because we don't have big transit centers. So we're looking at connections that are really, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but going to be connecting the local travel network with regional transportation, and maybe under SB 79, which you guys are, it just happened over the weekend. Maybe we need to relabel them as just intermodal connection spots or something.
Well, it doesn't matter what.
I don't know, but it seems to me that ours are not gonna be huge. They're gonna be opportunities for people to know that if they go to that spot, they get a connection.
That's right. There's the access to the transit, but other forms of transportation as well. And if you look at our guide, we talk about other amenities that can make these as locations where people know that they can access other forms of transportation, including through placemaking such as public art. I don't want to say restrooms, but restrooms as well. So anyway, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your group this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before I start with my update, I also don't have any further information on how this, but I did immediately reach out to our consultant this morning because part of the deliverables of this project would be an implementation roadmap, what this would look like in reality to come to your city. And so we will be factoring this into what they deliver to us for implementation. As far as updates to the project go, we had our kickoff last month and have just had our first monthly check-in. The original stage or phase of this project will be conducting an origin and destination analysis. This will be at the census block level. And we are looking at 3 categories of travel. We're looking at trips originating in the South Bay, but leaving the South Bay, trips coming into the South Bay from outside of the subregion, as well as trips staying within the South Bay. And those tend to be about 60% of the trips. And the reason we are looking at this is because in a traditional sense, a mobility hub is a nexus between short travel, those used whether you're biking or walking to a hub, and then a connection to more long forms of travel, such as a car, a rail transit, a bus. And through this lens, we've adapted some typologies that we find are specific to the South Bay context, especially with the transit landscape in the subregion. And so those 2 typologies are, the first one is a neighborhood mobility hub. This is more of the traditional sense mobility hub attached to existing transit hubs. It is a robust center that, in addition to offering those connections to different types of modes, also boasts a number of services. We're hoping to leverage other COG initiatives such as the South Bay Fiber Network to provide digital assets and create a community space more so than even just the connection. So bringing in retailers and Amazon lockers head, or even a grocer, or educational services. So these are going to be what we like to call as third places, places in the community that members can get resources, can come together, can host events, in addition to that transfer of travel mode. The second typology is what we are calling a modular mobility hub. This one is looking at those communities that specifically don't have that high demand transit. And what a modular is it implements mobility hub amenities and structure at existing locations. These could be retail clusters, business centers, and employment hubs. And one example would be the Skechers headquarters in Manhattan Beach. So what a modular mobility hub would be is we would give them an outline of a kit of parts, essentially. So, hey, if you bring in a NEV fleet or some scooters and offer these services, you have people traveling from all over Los Angeles driving to your location every day. Why would they take their large car to drive half a mile to go get lunch? So offer these services and these close range micromobility devices as a way to get around once you've already reached these destinations. So as I said, again, we are now in the stage of origin destination analysis. So this is going to determine where these mobility hub sites could go, where those large flows of traffic are coming into and out of the South Bay. And then following that, we will determine the sites and start the site conceptions, as well as the analysis of meeting with the community. What are the specific amenities, the needs of the community that would utilize a mobility hub, to make sure that we're really tailoring our approach to what's going to provide benefit. So I'll probably be presenting a lot more updates on this as we get those findings of origin destination analysis and meeting with mobility vendors. But I'm quite optimistic. The consultant team also has a sub called Transito, which is interesting because they are an operator of mobility hubs a lot within the Los Angeles region, one known as the Block. So they really understand the every day-to-day operations that go into managing mobility hubs and what works and what doesn't. They're on the ground every day. So yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so does that include traffic studies?
The origin destination analysis, it does not. No.
Okay, so, I mean, we're Lomita, so we just received a chunk of change from SCAG. We appreciate it for the local travel network. Thank you. But the reason I asked the question is we have a lot of, small little city, we have a lot of cars coming through going, down Lomita Boulevard to Costco or any of the big box, entities outside of the city, right? So I'm just trying to think about how that mobility hub might play into that trade space, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Wally's also very interested in that, especially with almost kind of looking at what he likes to call smart neighborhoods. And I think the way that that can play into it is the origin destination analysis also looks at within the South Bay. So people in Lomita and where they are going outside of Lomita. So the mobility hub could serve as that nexus point for everyone leaving Lomita or something can connect at this place, or people coming in can connect at this place and access short range vehicles. But it doesn't look at individual corridors. The analysis doesn't look at individual corridors of travel. It is mostly focused on the distance and the locations people are coming from or leaving to, and the modes that they choose to get there. So we're seeing a high friction of destination in modes. For example, for those who are staying for steering, you'll see a fact that in the South Bay, about 113,000 daily trips that are taken in a car are only half a mile or less. So it's targeting those, and even the ones staying in your community and looking how a mobility hub can behaviorally as well as infrastructurally and service-wise promote using more short-term or short-distance optimized vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
Anything else for Jake?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any questions on the look ahead from David?
You can.
We got Olympic Games mobility apropos in November. So that's a guessing game.
And we're also getting the Inglewood Transit Connector Funding Plan. Coming back with an update.
That's gonna be
Be
exciting.
sick that day. Oh, look at the time. Is that Veterans Day? And when's Waymo coming in?
October 23rd. they're coming to the board.
Oh, to the board, not to us. Okay.
Just want to make sure everybody saw that the transportation committee is a week earlier next month on the 3rd of November. Oh, not the 10th.
See you guys in 3 weeks.
That's all right. I tried to show up last week anyway. I was
Yeah.
still ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you can't get enough of these meetings.
Can't get enough. All right, any any questions on the November 3rd? Because November 10th is the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps. Book your taxis now. All right, any announcements? Look at that. Zipped it right back in the fast lane. All we do is start yelling about SB 79. That mobility hub's fled on foot. All right, with that, we are out.
Thank you.